We are here to have a budget hearing with the Office of Accountability, Performance, and Innovation. I'm Corey Williams, Chair of the Finance. Oh, no?
IT first.
Oh, I got the wrong.
APIs.
APIs later. Pardon me, IT. I gotta trade my sheets
More
out.
exciting.
Even more exciting. I gotta trade my sheets out. Joined today by Councilor Hogan, Nave, Paniagua, Jones-Rouser, and would you gentlemen mind introducing yourselves while I grab the right sheets?
No problem. Frank Oliva, the city's Chief Administrative Officer.
I'm Dave Proack, I'm Director of IT.
So if I may, I thought we have managed, I think, over the years to make information technology and the way it functions as confusing as possible. So I thought I would spend a couple minutes up front talking a little bit about the way we are currently organized and expect to be organized over the, if I may, Councilor, expect to be organized over the coming year, and it also highlights some changes. The most important change really is at the top of the chart. We have not had a Chief Technology Officer really ever. We briefly named Sam Eichelstein Chief Technology Officer shortly after I joined the city, but Sam did not stay, and we left the position vacant for budgetary reasons. But we do propose in this budget, fiscal year 25, to hire a Chief Technology Officer. That Chief Technology Officer would really have the responsibility for vision, policy, and general oversight over IT. And I'll talk briefly, if I can, about what we consider to be part of IT and what we consider to be outside of IT. So first and most important, the Chief Technology Officer will have the purview over our enterprise platforms. What are enterprise platforms? Enterprise platforms are the systems and the technology that serve the entire city. So doesn't matter what department you walk in, doesn't matter where you are, that technology is serving you in some way. So that's the AS400 currently. You'll see that in red. We intend to retire the AS400. If it kills us or kills somebody else, we will retire the AS400. Microsoft 365, which is our office and email environments, which with the partnership with the council, we did move to the cloud and to the latest Microsoft technology over the last couple of years. Our payroll systems and timekeeping systems, which are Telestaff, Kronos, which we call Syracuse Workforce Central, SWC, and then our new payroll system, which we're in the process of installing. The other three enterprise systems are our human resources and human capital management system, which we are in the process, and we'll be coming back to the council for funding to finish that project in the near future. We're about 2 years into that project. We've got maybe another 8 months to go. Our ERP or accounting system, which is currently PeopleSoft, we are in the process of designing the upgrades to that system. The owner of that system, which is now Oracle, PeopleSoft used to be a standalone system when the city installed it. It was purchased by Oracle. It is now being put to pasture by Oracle. It's end of life. Depending on what day of the week it is and who you're talking to, it could be anywhere from a year to 3 years from now. But Oracle will be depreciating PeopleSoft. And then finally, an asset management system. It is likely to be a system called CityWorks, currently used by the Water Department, and the DPW and Parks are currently looking at deploying CityWorks. Asset management system is exactly what it sounds like. Tells you where every asset of the city is, every truck, every tool, all the inventory. It tracks it, it assigns it to projects. It allows us to keep a better handle on our assets. It also ties into the accounting system so that we can work on our depreciation. You will hear from our auditors at the end of the month that our centralized asset management in terms of the financial aspects are really problematic as it is from an operational standpoint. So that's really, that's the direct purview of the Chief Technology Officer. The CTO will also oversee two other major verticals. The first is our infrastructure, so what I refer to, much to the chagrin of many of the folks in IT, I refer to that as the ports, pipes, and PCs. So the wiring, the networks, the endpoints, all of that network of stuff that allows IT to work, which is currently overseen by Trevor Grant, who is our Director of Infrastructure. That also is rapidly moving to the cloud. So much of our infrastructure, whether we like it or not, most of the vendors that provide us those services are moving away from legacy on-premise systems, and we're moving into the cloud, which happy to talk about or not as you see fit. And then help desk. Trevor also will be overseeing help desk. And then our support systems, we use a lot of outside contractors now, including the county, who provides us with significant support. And then the final thing the CTO will oversee is cybersecurity, which is where Dave is spending more and more of his time. Dave will be more focused on cybersecurity, particularly working with the state and the JSOC, the Joint Security Operations Center, which Dave has been one of the founding members of and very instrumental in building that up. Cybersecurity is becoming increasingly important. And then Dave also oversees our technology projects. What do we mean by that? Moving us from the Commons over to One Park Place. Huge technology infrastructure requirements. Dave spearheaded that effort. 1153 West Fayette, as we build a new PSB over there. Huge technology implications. Dave will oversee that. And then document management, which is becoming an increasingly important part of what we do. The city has literally thousands and thousands of boxes of documents that need to be managed, scanned, moved. Right now, Dave is spearheading a very large FOIL project that's coming in that requires hundreds of thousands of pages of city documents to be released because of a FOIL. They all have to be scanned. They all have to be redacted. They all have to be released in digital form, and Dave is overseeing that. So that is really the IT. All of that on the right-hand side of the page. The left I put there because it gives you a little bit of an idea of how the team that you're going to be hearing from right after this, API, digital services, how do they interact? Digital services really deals with all of the other systems that are not necessarily enterprise-wide. So they deal with the systems that are more department located. So whether that's Camino, which runs the permit office, or there's a document management system or a case management system in the law office. Nobody else interacts with those systems except those specific departments. So digital services deals with those applications. They help us with our technical training across the city, and they also, which is significant for the budget, they also are managing all of our systems licensing. So you'll see a dramatic shift from the old IT budget, where we tried to centralize all of our software licensing. That has all shifted to digital services. So we've got some dedicated folks in digital services now that are overseeing all of that licensing. Licensing is a huge expense for us. It needs to be overseen. We need to maintain it. We have constant need for folks are constantly looking to increase it. It needs to be managed so we make sure that it isn't duplicated. It needs to be managed so we make sure that renewals get in front of the council on a timely basis. We've had a couple of near scares where, because we didn't realize that a license was about to expire, that we had a vendor threaten to cut us off and we needed to rush something in front of you in order to get an approval. We need folks that are dedicated to this. It is critical to the way the city operates.
So Frank,
Yes.
I mean, that's a lot
It
of
is a lot,
information,
no question.
yet you 50% of staff. You know, from 21 you went down to 11.
So they are moving so digital services staff is currently showing under IT, they are actually moving under API. So that is a little bit of misleading in the budget.
Right. And so with that shift occurring, what are the positions you're hoping to add to IT?
So right now, we have the Chief Technology Officer, that will be an additional position. Dave will remain, obviously, he's under the title Director of Information Technology. The administrative intern is we talked earlier today about the peculiarities of civil service. Administrative intern is kind of a catch-all position that civil service allows us. It is anybody with a master's degree, and so we could not get Trevor's position approved quickly enough, so we used the administrative intern title because, in fact, Trevor has a doctorate. So we were able to slide him in there. Program analyst, we have two. One is Stan, who is our programmer for the AS400. The other is a vacant position, currently approved, but vacant, that we hope to fill this year. We have a senior network administrator, which is vacant, which we hope to fill. That is not new. And then the cybersecurity lead is vacant, which we hope to fill. The help desk endpoint lead is vacant, which we hope to fill. Many of these are in that help desk position is in civil service right now. And then we have the office automation analyst position, which is currently one of our, or two of our help desk folks. So the only new position, we have a lot of vacant positions, the only new position is the CTO.
Can I ask, my familiarity with this world and this ecosystem comes from the city schools. Chief Moon sits over both the analytics and the IT. Why would that model not work for us? Why do we need two chief level titles for something that a similar organization does with one chief level?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's really one of tradition here at the city more than expediency. So what do I mean by that? When the city first began investing in data systems and data analytics, it was done largely, I got to be careful here because it was done before. The latest iteration was done under a significant Bloomberg grant. And the Bloomberg Innovation Grant required that data and innovation be tied together. There are many organizations that put data under IT. It took me about a year to get used to it because I came from an organization where data was under IT. It just was that Bloomberg saw those two as being very closely tied. That's the way they funded it. That's the way the previous administration had built it. And because we were still running out that grant, we were asked by Bloomberg, who was still funding much of the innovation team, to keep data tied to it. But it's not of necessity. It's simply an organizational choice.
When thinking about adding positions, I think that my thought process is around either savings to the organization or the ability to generate revenue. I don't see that falling under either categories, and so I jump to my next question in terms of value added.
Yeah.
What is the value added to both the organization and to our taxpayers to create a position that we've been operating without previous?
The position may be vacant, but we're paying for it.
Yeah.
So we have a consultant, we're getting the work, IT has to get the work done. The bus. So whether we have a city employee or we have a consultant doing it, we have to have someone doing it.
Right. So then what does that consultancy look like? Who is it, or what are we paying them?
So I'm going to shift that focus a little bit. We do not have a chief technology officer right now. We have folks who are doing some of that, and some of that is being done by outside folks, as Dave mentioned. But where we are paying for the chief technology officer deficit, if you will, is a lack of strategy. We are exceedingly reactive. So we do not have any plan for overall multi-year plan for IT overall. We are, our enterprise systems right now are behind the times. We operate on there is no organization that I know of that is still operating on a 40-year-old core system, and our core system is 40 years old. Our payroll system is absolutely incapable of supporting our employee base right now. It is, and you will put me through the ringer on this when I come back and ask for the dollars to complete that project. But we are incapable with our current systems to support our current employees, our current accounting system. You will see when our outside auditors come through at the end of the month that we will be significantly criticized for our current accounting system and its lack of capabilities. So that's really where the taxpayers are paying for us not having a CTO.
So if a CTO would provide long-term strategy is what I read.
Long-term strategy, efficiency, and effectiveness.
So right now on our agenda, I don't know if it went through yesterday, but the master plan for the parks, one-time $150,000. We were talking about developing a strategy for, potentially 150 recurring.
Yep.
Why have that title be recurring rather than a one-time?
Because the amount of change that takes place on a regular basis means that while the plan needs to be laid out, and we have done plans, while the plans need to be laid out, the changes in technology, the changes in the players in the system, being able to coordinate amongst all of the various verticals. So cybersecurity alone is changing on a regular basis. The requirements of our insurers, the requirements of the JSOC, changing on a regular basis. The ability for us to maintain both the technical stack, so the hardware, if you will, the platforms really, it's less hardware and more about the digital platforms now, and our ability to maintain the software stack, so how all of the software interacts with each other, is more fluid than, I would suggest, than a hard facilities or physical plant. So it would be like us saying, we really don't need Mary Robeson because we can do an engineering plan and a facilities plan once, and then we could just have the staff that reports to Mary. No, we desperately need Mary because those things change, because that constantly needs to be reevaluated. That strategy needs to be updated. So this is one of the places where I'm a huge proponent of outsourcing. This is one of the places where I would say we have really done ourselves and done the taxpayers a disservice by outsourcing this to the small extent that we have so far.
Take a little break and turn it over
Sure.
to my fellow counselors.
I just want to mention one thing. My answer was relative to the vacant positions that the core IT staff has. So different
Perspectives.
timelines.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would this be a civil service or non-civil service position? The CTO that.
It's likely to, there is a civil service description, so it would probably be within.
be?
Yep.
So by the time.
But appointed.
Okay. And I'm just wondering how, because I know part of the struggle of the IT here has been trying to find the candidate to bring in.
This would be a very difficult position to fill.
Right. So in that sense, I'm thinking even if it's approved, it's probably going to take a while, considering the process of civil service and everything else. Or do you have any other way, considering that it's approved, to expedite the process?
So there is another path. We could hire a outside firm to provide us with fractional services. So there are, just as you can hire a fractional CFO, you can hire a fractional CTO. So someone who is shared with multiple other firms. So kind of a little hybrid of what you're suggesting, Counselor. And it's not ideal, but it may be the route that we have to take depending on how difficult it is to fill this. This is a critical need for us now. We've put it off too long, so that would be the plan B.
Speaking of that, I think we shared quite a number of services with City School District, one being the communication that Rusney was talking about earlier, right? Could this be also something that we could tap in both with City School District at all, or would it just be two different dimensions?
So I think the school district is a little bit, there's a little more disparity between, frankly, they're more sophisticated than we are, they're larger than we are. They're, for example, about a year ahead of us on the core system change. They're going down exactly the same path that we are, changing the core system. As I say, they're about a year ahead of us. It's really, probably we'd be better aligned with the county. We've had those conversations back and forth with the county a number of times. It's something that we are always open to. The county's very supportive of us, and we have very similar kinds of shops. But in the past, the council has been concerned about the city maintaining its own IT infrastructure, and we've tried to honor that.
And just a last one, and I'll stop. Along the questions of Councilor Williams in terms of long-term strategy, have we ever done any IT study to do a little bit of monitoring and evaluation of the entire department, like we are doing with the police, or this?
Yep. We've done it twice. We did it once early on in the administration. I think the second year of the administration, we had an outside team come in, or an individual really, who came in and did a study. That was when we first decided that we needed the CTO, somebody to implement that study, and that was when we appointed Sam. And then subsequent to that, we had a group, you folks approved us to partner with a group called INDEV. We still contract with INDEV on a number of things, consultings. They've proven to be an invaluable partner, and they came in and updated that plan. We also have currently an INDEV consultant who's working very closely with the team right now to start laying the groundwork. This is not something that we can just flip a light switch on, and the INDEV consultant has come in, instituted some internal changes about the way policies are made, the way changes to those policies are made. So we've done some of the preliminary work with outside folks.
What are the requirements for position, college-wise, background?
Yeah, this is either going to be somebody who's highly educated, but when we compete in the marketplace, this is going to be either somebody who's highly educated but relatively short on experience. So somebody coming out of SU's IT program with a master's, or maybe ABD or something along those lines, but not a tremendous amount of experience. Or it's going to be somebody who's at the tail end of their career, who has been there. So the consultant from INDEV right now is hugely experienced, happens to live in Central New York, and is at the tail end of his career, doesn't want a full-time job, and is just giving us the benefit of that experience. So that's likely to be.
You would hire that person at a lower rate than if they're working part-time?
Yeah, he doesn't want to work enough to.
Okay.
So this is going to, yeah. So it's finding that right person. The person in the middle of those two, far too expensive for us to afford.
Frank, I'm a little puzzled why that would be civil service, though, that job. There's a civil service classification, because you don't have, like, obviously, you don't have data not provided. You don't have, like, a salary range or anything like that.
Yeah, it's the salary range, I saw that. The salary range, it'll be the new grade 120, which is about 102,000 to, it's a pretty wide range, 102, 101.9 to 169.9. So it'll be, I think we budgeted it at, help me, Mary, 120? Thank you. 128, thank you.
Okay, so that would be civil service, so they'd have to Is there a list? There wouldn't be a list for something like that, would there?
Conceivably.
Okay.
But it'll be an appointed position. My guess is, I shouldn't say that. Once we put it through civil service, my guess is it won't be competitive. It'll be appointed, but it will be, the job description will be civil service.
Why wouldn't you just have, I mean, Dave, you're not the qualified for that, or?
We need Dave focused on cybersecurity. Dave knows our systems. We need Dave working on projects, and we need Dave working on cybersecurity.
Okay, so it's like administrative,
Yeah.
that you need an extra person there
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah.
that goes. Now, and you did mention some projects that are worrisome, you know, I
Huge
mean,
projects.
obviously, huge, especially the movement of the police department.
Yep.
I did look here, I'm a little, now the Bloomberg, we had that Bloomberg grant that
Yep.
was sort of API oriented, correct?
Correct.
I mean, there's got to be grants available for a lot of the funding for, I imagine, for IT, right? Have we been successful in that?
For cybersecurity,
For
absolutely.
Okay, so what do we, because it doesn't show up here, I mean, what do we,
I'll let Dave talk about what the state has been providing us on
okay.
cybersecurity.
And we write the grants, I mean, IT, obviously, Dave writes the grants for that
Well,
stuff.
all their grants go through research, and
But-
Janet
but you-
Burke and her staff.
Well, I mean, I'm not even going to get in a debate about that, but you obviously know how to, you know, put what's needed as far as going after the grants, right?
They lead me down the path, though. They're the experts in the grant writing.
Okay.
So I'm not going to pretend to know how to do that.
But you know what's needed.
Yeah, and we know it qualifies. And when the funders are out there writing the specs for the grant, they're pretty. The tea leaves tell you what they're looking for, if it's cybersecurity oriented or something like that, or it's going to be a project to scan in paper documents and put it online. But we benefited quite a bit. 2 years ago, New York State started what's called a New York State Security Operations Center, NISOC, and we were one of the first 5 tenants of that Security Operations Center. It's run out of a combination of Albany and down in Brooklyn. There's now 75 or 80 municipalities that are in there. It is one of those projects where the government promises a bunch of stuff, and it did everything that they said they're going to do. It's no cost to the city. We replaced software that we used to use that was very good with even better software and no cost. We're an active participant. We're a little bit of a pioneer in there in that we're bringing them data and logs that they don't have from anybody else. So that's not a specific grant, but with the relationship that Frank and the mayor had with, I think it was through the Department of State, and when the new governor took over, we were invited to be a part of it. We had a seat at the table from day one. And it's one of those projects where they promise all these things, nailed it. Everything they say they're going to do, they do. They expand it every year. It's still fully funded. Cybersecurity is a genuine threat to everybody. And the fact that 75 or 80 municipalities are sharing their data, and they've got people with the room dark, with eyes on the screens, 7 by 24 hour, no days off. This is modeled after the New York City Cybersecurity Center.
They don't get people days off at all?
Well, they
or,
have
you know,
shift work.
just
They
chain
have
them to
shift
the
work.
Screens?
They have shift work.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, collaboration, so it's mostly infrastructure, right? And training, or?
Well, it's not so much, they do provide some training, but it's all around cybersecurity. We have that software running on every single computer in the city.
Good, I appreciate it. And then, you know, as far as, there is collaboration between the county and the city as far as this all goes, or what?
Yeah, so the county provides us with, currently, the county hosts our PeopleSoft system, and the county, and provides us with all the support and the consulting around that. The county also currently hosts our Kronos timekeeping system, although Kronos has been put out to pasture and the on-premise, and that's being moved to the cloud, so we won't need that support anymore. So we work very closely with the county, and our team calls the county on a regular
Well, that's
basis.
good, because I find that collaboration works better when the mission's somewhat similar as opposed to, let's not do the school district ever again. No offense, Counselor Williams, but, you know, that would be.
And the
that's
school
different.
district has been, you know, particularly when CFO Slack was there, and, you know, Tim Moon has always been accessible to us when we've had a question, but you're right, they are not as, the school district is considerably more
different mission.
sophisticated than us. It's a different animal.
And any chance I have to just acknowledge the county, they've been great partners.
Good.
Doesn't matter if the folks at this level and above got along in previous administrations, they've always been very, very good partners.
find
That
that-
works the way it always should.
I find that true because I end up down the end of Montgomery Street every once in a while myself, so,
There you go.
you know.
Frank, a quick question. Going back to the salary lines and the workforce.
Yes.
Are those positions that you're looking to hire, are they reflected in the 875, oh wait, I can't see that number. $1,000 in the salary line, are they already
They are.
there?
Yep.
Okay. So then the professional services, those would be the consultants and other,
Yep.
so even though we're gonna hire more people, you still need more money for that?
We still work, we constantly are using consultants. Our folks, we will never have enough folks to do all the work that we need to do, particularly with the large-scale projects that we're constantly undertaking.
Okay.
So what falls in that professional services line?
So some of that is one time around software implementations or a particular kind of expertise that we don't have. So one of the, I don't know, idiosyncrasies, I guess, of IT is that there are folks that are very specialized. So we have had to go out and hire expertise just on rebuilding our directory so that it would work with Microsoft 365 because our directory, when it was set up, had some peculiarities in it, and it didn't just migrate over. So it could be anything like that. It's right now, because we're waiting on the county to, or the civil service to approve the help desk position. We're actually contracting out some of our help desk services to a consultant. So it's any number of those kinds of things. A lot of it is filling a gap that we either don't have the bandwidth or a particular kind of expertise to fill.
So if you came to a number of 718.5, there must be more specifics than the general statements that you just made.
A lot of it is based on previous spend. It is unlikely to be spent on exactly the same thing that we spent it on last year. Some of it will be carryover, but much of it will not be. I mean, there's always, I could generalize and say network services, and you could ask me, what does that mean, Frank? And I'd say, A, I don't know, and B, something different than network services meant last year because the projects will always change. So it could be, any variety of things.
And what are the reimbursements from other funds? Can you explain that a little bit? I can't remember what that was.
Reimbursement from other funds,
Our staff does a bunch of programming on the AS400s for water bills, water billing. So the water fund reimburses us a portion of that person's.
Oh, so you get reimbursed?
right.
Okay.
Out of all these positions, what position are grant funded, Frank, at all, or nothing? They all.
Not in IT.
So what you spoke earlier about grant? What do grant?
We get grants, what occurs is we'll get a grant to do a firewall replacement at a couple of park centers. So that'll pay for the hardware.
Okay.
The software subscription for a few years and the installation of that. So that grant will pay for that, not for labor going forward.
Okay.
Gets us up and running, the old out, gets the new installed, but nothing going forward.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And Frank, I was doing math in my head the first time around, then I heard the word police come up a second time around. Will you do a better job of making the connection for me between what we're talking about here and police?
In terms of the police IT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I heard the term police, and I don't
So.
see the immediate fit. And I'm just
So,
hoping to-
yeah, the legacy systems were very separate. The city's legacy IT had very little interaction, certainly almost zero purview over police IT. Different animal, they required a level of security around their data that the city did not require, which was much more expensive for them to maintain and build the firewalls around. That is, it's not that isn't still the case. It is easier for the city to be able to provide that level of security now because we require it of ourselves. So going forward, you will see more interaction around city IT and police IT, although they will still maintain very, a lot of separation. But for example, Microsoft 365, one of the, let me put it in terms of advantages. One of the advantages of moving to that platform is that we will be able to have police personnel and city hall personnel interact more on a daily basis with share files, share email, those kinds of things under Microsoft 365 while still keeping the data protections in place that the Department of Justice requires of the police. So we're getting closer, but we're not there yet.
Then I look at our org chart again
Yeah.
here. And in the red, you've got the AS 400 retirement, the HRIS,
Yep.
the ERP, the asset management.
Yep.
Those seem, or at this point, they're aspirational projects, right? Are
Well,
there
the-
funds tied to any of the red in the line items here?
So, no, they are, so they're, I will respectfully say they're not aspirational. The completion of them is aspirational. They are,
Right, thank you.
we're 2 years in and several $1 million of state and federal money into these projects. But we do not have the local funds to finish them. But there is nothing, the HRIS, ERP, and asset management will all be with the council's approval bonded. So they would not be in the general fund.
What's the current asset management for the, said parks and DPW?
There is none. They do not have an asset management platform. The water department is using a platform called CityWorks, which we're in discussions to expand to those other departments, Councilor.
So then, you're talking about the potential for bonding for these additional pieces. Did those show up in the capital plan?
They're not in, they are, some of them are in the current capital plan. It's not, we didn't have the final dollar amounts at that point when the capital plan was being put together.
Do our city departments have like a point person so that IT can canalize whatever projects? Or,
It is typically the department heads. Typically the department heads. And we have a department head meeting once every week, for a full 90 minutes. Everybody's in the same room. So a lot of business gets done then. And
In the departments that are currently, would be the lead on the core systems, Counselor, the answer to that is yes. So there is now a lead in human resources, there's now a lead in finance. Because they are so significant leading those core systems, we did hire folks to actually lead in those areas.
I mean, it would definitely
Yeah.
ease the way to
Yep.
whatever it is we want to do.
So we hired folks who have both business expertise and the technical expertise, so they can be a bridge between their department and the technical folks as we move through these.
And the administrative intern, you said that was Trevor?
Yes.
And coming in, he came in under the Bloomberg?
Trevor originally came in to API, so the Bloomberg grant was probably pretty much expended by the time he came into API. But then Trevor actually left the city for a year, technically left the city, was hired by Microsoft. Speaking of grants, Councilor Hogan, we did get a grant from Microsoft to pay for Trevor. So Trevor left the city, went to work for Microsoft for a year, and then we hired him back when that grant expired.
that's a good point. That's an example of them paying for labor. Those grants, those are pretty rare. The grants you get from New York State and the like, or New York State, that's our targeted particular
Programs.
hardware. We'll implement this. Nothing.
Well, the Bloomberg grant, what did that pay for?
So the Bloomberg grant paid for a variety of things. It was a little before my time, but it paid for people, it paid for
For the whole API?
the entire
department.
API, the I-team.
So we can get,
implementation.
you can get personnel, but just not maybe from
Yeah,
state
no,
grants
no,
or
you
something like
can.
that.
And Microsoft has given us a significant amount of money. both with the hiring of Trevor, but also with some in-kind services. When we migrated to Microsoft 365, they paid a lot of our consulting bills, obviously in their self-interest, but it was not inconsequential, the amount of money they gave us for that migration.
I guess I might be hung up on the word intern. Is this a short-term position? What is that looking like?
It's a title only. So it is a civil service title that already exists that allowed us to hire Trevor while we were getting his Director of Infrastructure final title is still being approved by civil service.
Okay.
We needed to hire him in the interim. That was a handy title that allowed us to do that.
Okay, so
And
that'll
that,
change.
the new title that you hope to go to, was that the same pay scale?
The Director of Infrastructure is the same pay scale for Trevor, yes. Yep.
And you said that the information technology, that was under grade 20?
Chief Technology Officer will be a grade 120, correct?
Frank, I want to go back to the org chart that you got, the IT functional ecosystem. And when you see the connectors there, everything else is connected to chief, to CTO, except the three pieces. And you said, I think, if I remember correctly, you said those three are going to be under the API. Is the idea for the API to be reporting to the CTO, or
No.
so?
Nope. So they are very much the primary customers of the CTO. So that's the first reason that they're on the chart. The second reason is they have some alignment because they are managing digital transformations. They're helping with the training. They're doing a lot of the interface with the businesses that do not have their own IT representative or business partner. So they're aligned with IT, but they do things that are very much different than IT as well.
So this is for the sake of just aligning, not
That's
not
exactly
function-
right.
not-
I'm
not-
trying to give you a
okay.
picture of
Okay.
how the whole, both the client side and the delivery side. And to show you how neatly I can make boxes.
There, Joel, or pardon, Councilman Joke, there is another box up here, which is the Chief Data Officer, which was,
Yeah.
An imaginary
Left off
box,
the-
I mean. An imaginary box, Councilor Williams?
No,
Yes.
it was on an earlier version that Counselor
It
Williams
was in the
saw.
cloud.
oh, did I see that?
Yeah, he did see it. Okay.
I don't remember everything.
Yeah, you did see it.
Anybody else?
Well, I guess
I would-
it might have been answered.
Counselor
but-
Hogan's about to say something snarky.
It's just this whole chief technology officer thing. I know it's going to be difficult. It's like, hiring a new baseball manager in the middle of the season here, it's going to be pretty difficult getting the right person. And I like your idea. I know you've had success. I point out to DPW, where you're able to get somebody who could manage the system, who came in
Yep.
with a lot of seasoning and,
Yep.
but this is going to be similar to that.
This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough one.
It's all up to you, Frank.
Thank you, I appreciate that, Counselor. Understand that the motivation for me is that I spend way too much of my time in this box, and
So it's self-centered.
it's absolutely self-centered. It's also, I'm not serving the taxpayers as well as whoever
Very good. I
gets
like that second
ultimately
part,
sits in
Frank.
this box.
And Frank, I'm just gonna ask, I haven't been fully able to work my way through the audit from fiscal year '23. If after reviewing that, would you gentlemen be willing to come back if we want an additional session to further discuss some of these items?
Given that much of the audit is criticizing our systems and our ability to meet our fiduciary responsibility, be delighted to come back.
Just one more question. It might have been answered, I might have missed it, but overall, how many positions are currently in need to be filled?
CTO, a program analyst, a senior network administrator, cybersecurity lead, help desk lead, 5.
Oh, I'm confused. Dave is not the lead?
No, this would be the cybersecurity lead. Dave is currently sitting in the Director of Information Technology seat.
Oh, okay.
The cybersecurity lead is intended to be, cybersecurity is becoming such a critical part of, so I'll give you a great example of how important cybersecurity is to taxpayers. The difference between us having a full-time cybersecurity person and not is roughly $100,000 in our insurance premium. So it's a huge deal.
I don't know what it's like to hear. What pays for itself?
We paid for itself, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cybersecurity insurance is becoming increasingly a line item unto itself.
So also, you're also looking at the taxpayers when they pay their water bills, and you have secured their credit
Yes, sir.
card and their
Yep.
checking account. You have to ensure that it's not
Yep.
taken, so.
And again, not to belabor the point, you will see in the audit when you, at the end of the month, that our systems are not interacting well. We have, I think the exact quote from the outside auditor is that the city has multiple systems that are used to transact its financial business, many of which do not interact with each other.
Right, there's been a couple errors where people have said that they paid their tax bill and they were, and again, a notice you didn't pay yet, or, you know, there's been little technical errors.
Where we try to tax exempt entities. So yes, we have our difficulties.
Well, speaking on that, just because had information about another resident, but, so we use a third party to, if they like set up a payment plan for things. And if a card is not working, who sends out something to say your card on file isn't working?
The company that does if the card is on file and the taxpayer has elected to have a auto payment done, the card processing company would do that, would send that out.
Okay, so maybe residents need to be informed of the name of that company so that they're aware if they receive something from them.
The receipt actually would say that, but sure, yep. We can make sure that that's clearer.
So what's the vacancy rate, Frank? Because as we said earlier, that it's sometimes, quite challenging to find IT folks. What's
Got,
it's
I mean,
all
we
full?
have 5 out of how many positions? So it's at least 50%.
50%?
Yeah.
Oh, oof.
And it hasn't gotten better in my 5 years here. IT is probably, of everything in my portfolio, IT is the most difficult.
So how do you supplement that day
That's
to,
why
you
you made note earlier that the professional services budget went up, I don't know, 40% this year, 50% this year. Like I said, some of the stuff that has to get done. We had somebody retire as a programmer in end of January last year, having to replace them. We got maybe one candidate applying to the job. So we hustle a lot, and we have to lean on consultants. Disadvantages, they're expensive. The advantage is if I don't need you today, I don't call you today, so we don't pay for you. So
It's also increasingly difficult to find folks that can program the AS400 and do so economically.
So given that we've had a long time shortage and an inability to fill positions, have you thought about restructuring, the core of what we do?
Oh, we have, and that's what we're in the process of doing, but we can't fully affect that with the current systems. So once we upgrade the systems, we'll be able to focus, for example, on help desk. One of the things that we've done is we've really have not spent as much time on the end user experience, which is really the most important thing. And we've spent more time, pardon me, with bubble gum and baling wire holding the infrastructure together. And that's really where all of our resources have gone. Once we have a more modern, stable system, we'll be able to spend considerably more time where we should be, which is on serving the businesses and serving our constituents.
The transition, that's really difficult, like building the plane on the fly.
Exactly, that's the best.
And then that modern system that we keep talking about, it will last for what, 3 years?
No, I don't think that's the case. I think we're talking about core systems, core platforms, and they're all in the cloud now. So the advantage, let's start with the disadvantage. The disadvantage of a cloud-based core system is that it's constantly being upgraded. And so you're constantly paying incrementally. Every year, your licensing goes
the
up a little
upgrades.
bit to get the newest version. The advantage of that is you've always got the latest version. And so Oracle, right now, the system that we're hoping to move to is saying, we're not gonna increase the functionality of PeopleSoft anymore. We'll keep doing security patches for the next year, maybe the next 2 years, but you're not getting any new functionality. Once you move to our more modern system, yes, you're going to pay us a little bit more every year for your licensing, but you'll always have the best and latest system. So it's like Microsoft 365. When we went to the new Microsoft system before, when Dave was, running our on-premise email system, it was almost a decade old. I think it actually was 12 years old. Now, every morning when you turn on your PC, you've got the latest version of Microsoft 365. So, advantages and disadvantages. And that's really the way IT has moved now. That's really the way the platforms are structured now. So longer.
And you said that enterprise platforms is the one that's going to move to Oracle?
Yes, enterprise platforms is the one that is largely, all of those in red, with the exception of asset management. Asset management will not be run by Oracle, but the HRIS, human capital management, ERP, accounting will all be, hopefully, Oracle systems.
And this already came before the council, or
It
this
is not,
hasn't? Okay.
so portions of it have. So we did it, we laid it out incrementally. So we did the scheduling, and that's, all the time and attendance is largely done. We now have done the payroll design, but we don't have the dollars to fully implement the payroll. We have the human capital management largely designed and paid for. This was all using state and federal money. So the design was done. We now need the dollars to finalize the implementation, which is not inexpensive.
We've got 153, and if we continue to discuss IT and you're willing to sit down with us again, I'll let you know.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
So moved.
And second? Second. Thank you, gentlemen.
This is always